I do want to talk about when you look at the Nikola Jokić-less aspect to this game, it kind of ties into who our player spotlight is. And his absence kind of played into a certain somebody's strength tonight. You can see him on the top of your screen. Now, guys, we talk about the Celtics killer whale offense. They were so adamant about it last year. We haven't seen it much this year. Tonight, it was clear with no Jokić, the weak links of this Denver team was that paint, was the inside. The Celtics attacked it, and they attacked it behind your SeatGeek player of the game, guys, Kristaps Porzingis. Now, before we talk about Kristaps, I just want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of the post-game show this year, guys, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the best ticketing app out there, guys. Use code Celtics Weekly at checkout for $20 off your first purchase.
You still got the date wrong, dude.
Oh my God.
You were bragging about it earlier. Dude. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and it says the 5th. And I'm like, dude, the 5th was the Thunder game. At least it says Nuggets. All right. Finish your read. Finish your ad read. I just had
we're all out of whack now.
It's after hours here. We're allowed to be out of whack. Go ahead, Rob. Finish your read.
All right. Well,
it kind of looks like an 8 if you squint at it. I will say, if you have bad eyes,
oh my God.
Although it's not the 8th right now.
Go ahead, Rob.
I know it is.
Well, guys, our link for I'm all out of whack. It's too late for this. All right, guys, the link for SeatGeek is in the top of the description. Guys, again, shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this post-game show. Guys, let's talk about Kristaps Porzingis on the 7th of January, not the 5th. My apologies. 25 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 stocks, 9 of 18 from the floor, guys. Now, Kristaps Porzingis has been in and out of the lineup all year long. However, tonight, I think, personally, was the first time all season that you can say Kristaps was the X factor. And as Celtics fans, that has to be a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what was a bigger breath of fresh air. Not only was this his best game all season, but whether Jokić played tonight or not, I really needed to see this type of game from Kristaps Porzingis, specifically because he probably had his worst game in a Celtic uniform, in my opinion, against the Oklahoma City Thunder on Sunday. It was definitely up there in one of his worst games. Want to go, Shane?
Yeah, because the first half was really good, but the second half was, putrid. I agree.
What was the game he scored? He was like 2 of 12. Was that Indiana?
I don't know.
There have definitely been some Kristaps stinkers this year. Just saying.
Real nice.
Like
real
totally.
Nice. Real nice. I didn't like the way he played against the Oklahoma City Thunder. In a game where your biggest player was 6'8" when Isaiah Hartenstein wasn't on the court, that's a game Kristaps Porzingis needs to dominate in, and he didn't. Tonight, though, he did dominate in this game. 15 of his 25 in the first quarter. He came out firing, really set the tone for the Celtics, and that's huge. 11 rebounds, couple of blocks as well, shot very efficiently from the floor. This is just the Kristaps Porzingis that we're used to. The only issue is the poor guy can't stay healthy, and that's why we can't regularly see these Kristaps Porzingis games. This guy's on it tonight. He's on it. He might be our Dick Lipe here. We might have our own Dick Lipe here. You've been wishing for one of those, Seamus. You didn't get a Dick Lipe for Christmas, so maybe you get a Ravens and Orioles and Orioles fan. Yeah. But on a serious note, I love what I saw from Kristaps Porzingis tonight. Really capitalized for the Celtics, set the tone early, and was able to finish this game out as well. And again, I mentioned it earlier in the show. It's not the 3 out of 4 games that you won that's the positive out of this road trip. For me, it's coming out of this road trip healthy. And for your 7'3" unicorn to come out of this road trip healthy, that's very important for this team moving forward.
He did take a pretty good kick, though.
He did.
Quarter. Mismatch. That is the name of the game for Kristaps Porzingis, and that was tonight. He was able to take full advantage of being lined up against the smaller, less athletic centers, Dario Saric and DeAndre Jordan, who are a little bit past their day in the NBA, and that he was able to take full advantage of that. And we were actually able to see him play the dominant center role where the Celtics have been needing that for a very long time. And when he's out playing the 3-and-D, playing more like a power forward, that's when he's not at his most effective. It's when he's able to lower his shoulder down, be able to get his looks, be able to force someone who's around like 6 inches shorter than him to put their hands up, and it's just getting tangled up with them, and it's creating. Oh, if he misses the shot, it's a free trip to the line.
Right.
That's when we're seeing the most out of him. And if the Celtics want to continue to have this dominance or continue to grow upon this West Coast trip moving forward, especially with the matchup against like Sabonis that's coming up, he's gonna need to be able to really be that physical player that the Celtics really need, and being able to also have some credit go to the bench depth behind him. They also stepped up as well in the paint.
Yes, without Nikola Jokić tonight, you look at the centers on the floor for the Denver Nuggets and the entire personnel field for the Denver Nuggets. The three centers who played tonight: Dario Saric, DeAndre Jordan, Zeke Nnaji. I just want to mention this real quick about the Nuggets. DeAndre Jordan and Russell Westbrook. Yes, Russell Westbrook had 26 points tonight, but Denver Nuggets, it's not 2016 anymore. It's not 2016. DeAndre Jordan, Russell Westbrook, they're just not going to get the job done on most nights here. I'm just saying, for the Denver Nuggets in terms of some of their offseason signings, yes, you need to have veteran presence with all these young guys in there, but man, really turning back the clock with some of the players we saw on the floor, specifically from Denver tonight. But in terms of their rotation, right? Franco loves the old players. Bring out Joe Johnson.
Bring back Dwight Howard and bring back
10-day deal.
I agree with those. I agree with that. Yeah. Jeff Green had a dunk last night. You must have been going nuts.
He was starting the other day against us. The Rockets went from Tari Eason, Amin Thompson, and Jabari Smith shutting down everybody to Jeff Green, who almost lost his job back in 2019 in the NBA. But aside the point there, the center rotation, the big man rotation for the Nuggets called on Kristaps Porzingis to have a great game tonight, because we even saw last season against the Denver Nuggets, Kristaps Porzingis was called upon to go in that low post against Nikola Jokić and both defend Jokić as a 7'3" center and score against Jokić, because that's really a battle of the big man in the NBA right now. And everybody's talking about, threes. Well, Kristaps Porzingis and Nikola Jokić, they are the two most efficient shooting big men in the paint. Forget big men, really, just players in general in the NBA. And without one of them in the lineup, Kristaps Porzingis, it almost felt like he had free reign to do whatever he wanted. And you really look at the shot distribution for Kristaps Porzingis tonight. 18 shots from the floor, only 3 attempts from 3. And he's 1 of 3 from 3, which means he was 8 of 15 from inside the 3-point arc. And some of those are actually mid-range jumpers, in which were not all that great and weren't great shots at all. Some of those were from the high post. But when you saw he got down near towards the paint, that's when he's the most effective, as Franco mentioned. And Kristaps Porzingis, in some of these games, particularly the Oklahoma City Thunder game in the second half, I know, Justin, you say that was one of the worst performances of the season. I won't agree with the first half, because I thought the pick and roll with him was highly effective in the first half. But the second half,
Seamus, we lost the game, man.
The second half was terrible. Okay, terrible from Kristaps Porzingis. It was 3 chucking all over the floor, just all over the place. Deep threes against mismatches.
He was jacking it.
Just totally jacking off the catch, just totally jacking it off. and ultimately, Kristaps Porzingis in that scenario, teams love him taking threes. Now, Kristaps Porzingis, can he hit that outside shot and be a little bit more effective from the perimeter at times when the situation calls on it? Yes. yes, he can be effective in multiple ways on the floor, but we want to see the shot distribution, how it is tonight. 3 threes, that's really, really low. But in terms of taking 15 attempts from inside the 3-point arc and hitting 8 of them, that's where we want to see Kristaps Porzingis really operate, because he's a 7'3" big man who can just shoot over anybody and does have that really soft touch jumper in which he just turns around. Oh, I'm 7'3". I have somebody who's 6'8" on me, and I'm just gonna float her right over him, bank it off, just put it right in the bucket. And Kristaps Porzingis in this game, he was able to do that, and we need to see that. We need to see this out of Kristaps Porzingis more if the Celtics want to go back to back, because although he was gone during the Celtics playoff run and for the majority of the Celtics playoff run last year, the Celtics are going to need him on their playoff run this year, and he is. Talked about him multiple times this year. He is the Celtics' Kevin Durant, which makes this team go up to a new level. And it's specifically when he's being used in the ways he was used tonight in Denver. And Kristaps Porzingis, just again on the shot distribution, you got to be taking more 2s than 3s if you're a 7'3" big man. And 3 attempts tonight outside the arc to 15 attempts inside the arc. That is just phenomenal distribution for Kristaps Porzingis. Completely voided himself of the shot chucking that we saw, just hampered the Celtics as a team the other night, and really, really took advantage of the mismatches he had tonight, knowing Nikola Jokić was out of the lineup. So Kristaps Porzingis, very deserving of player spotlight tonight. And moving forward, I hope we see Kristaps on the top of the screen a lot more.
So you mentioned shot distribution, and I completely agree with you. In a different aspect of the game, though, Kristaps really has not been super involved in this offense. And right now, this year at least, and I get it, he's been hurt and they're trying to work him back. And they're still really, I mean, Joe Mazzulla said it himself, they're still kind of figuring this whole thing out. It kind of feels like they're in training camp right now with the old 5. I think there needs to be times where Jaylen Brown defers to Kristaps Porzingis and they run the second option through KP. And I think they need to be, they did it a lot last year. I mean, there were a lot of times when you looked at the shot chart and it was Kristaps was taking the most shots sometimes. Sometimes he was second behind Tatum. Sometimes Brown was 1, Kristaps was 2, and Tatum was 3. And this year, it feels like the shot distribution has just been Tatum, Brown, and then everyone else. And while that works, and while I do believe Jason Tatum is the driving force to this team, and Jaylen Brown is extremely important to what this team has accomplished and will accomplish, you cannot underestimate the value Kristaps Porzingis brings and how good he truly is at putting the basketball in the basketball hoop. They need to go to Kristaps. Kristaps needs to be touching around 15 to 20 shots, I feel like, on a nightly basis. You need to get Kristaps Porzingis the ball. They did it tonight, and it was very effective, guys. But again, tonight you talk about shot distributions. Tatum took 23. Kristaps took 18. Brown took 13. Holiday took 12. That's perfect distribution. And I need to see that more. I need to see Kristaps Porzingis in that 15-plus area because, like you say, Seamus, Kristaps Porzingis is that key that unlocks the Celtics' true potential. He is that Kevin Durant. He is that what makes them so much different than the rest of the league. Tonight, they did it. I need to see more of that because he is that good.
He is. That's why I say the most important thing about coming out of this West Coast trip is Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, because coming into this West Coast trip, we were kind of questioning, is Kristaps Porzingis, he's entering this trip on the injury report. Is he going to be in one night and out the other night? Obviously missing that. I believe he missed the Minnesota game, if I'm remembering correctly.
You are.
After that, it's kind of like, well, is he going to play tomorrow against Houston? And we saw him against Houston, and we saw him again against OKC, where I wasn't impressed with. Yes, in the first half, he had a few nice slamma-jammas, but in the second half, as Seamus referred to, seems like everything was going good for him inside. So he says, well, let me try my luck outside, and that didn't work for him or any of the Celtics in the second half against the Oklahoma City Thunder. But tonight he went right back into it, pounded the paint. Seamus mentioned only 3 3-point attempts tonight. I like that from Kristaps Porzingis. I think that's so dangerous to have a guy who is 7'3", is one of the best post players in the league. And then he can also step behind the 3-point line and shoot the ball. I know that's just about every center nowadays, but right. I do think it's tremendous that Kristaps Porzingis can have a 25-11 night when only shooting 3-point attempts and only making one of them. In today's NBA, that is very, very impressive. So I'd love to. I agree with both of you, Seamus and Rob. I'd love to see Kristaps Porzingis above our on the top of the screen a lot more. The rest of the way throughout the season. Kristaps Porzingis in his post-game interview says he's feeling great, but he realistically is only at about 80 to 85%, and he knows that he still has a long way to go to get back to the Kristaps Porzingis that dominated all last season long. So, still some room for improvement, but if this is the Kristaps Porzingis we could see at times when he's only 80% and he still has 20% left to go, we're in for a treat, Celtics Nation. So just pray for Kristaps Porzingis to stay healthy because he really is the X factor on this team, just like he was tonight.